For generations, the Rahman family lived in a forgotten village surrounded by endless deserts and ancient ruins. Every elder warned their children never to enter the Black Dune cave, claiming it belonged to the Jinn long before humans walked the sands. But 70 years ago, greed conquered fear. Young Ibrahim Rahman ignored every warning after hearing legends about mountains of gold hidden beneath the cave. Armed with only a lantern and a rusted dagger, he disappeared into the darkness while a violent sandstorm swallowed the entrance behind him. Hours later, villagers watched him stumble back carrying an ancient chest carved with glowing Arabic symbols. His eyes no longer looked human. They reflected flickering green flames as though another soul had entered his body. Ibrahim refused to explain where he found the treasure, only whispering that the Guardian was sleeping. Nobody noticed the deep claw marks across the chest or the strange black smoke escaping from its cracks every midnight. When Ibrahim brought the chest home, strange events began immediately. Livestock died without wounds. Wells turned black overnight. Every mirror inside the house cracked at exactly 3 in the morning. The oldest imam warned that something evil had followed Ibrahim from the cave, but the family laughed and celebrated their newfound wealth, unaware that an ancient curse had already awakened. The curse did not wait long to reveal itself. 3 nights after Ibrahim returned with the stolen treasure, every member of the Rahman family awoke to the sound of heavy footsteps echoing across the roof. When they rushed outside with lanterns, no one was there. Yet enormous burnt footprints stretched from the rooftop to the courtyard before vanishing into thin air. That same night, Ibrahim dreamed of a towering jinn cloaked in black smoke, its eyes blazing like molten emeralds. Around its neck hung a golden amulet identical to the one hidden inside the stolen chest. The creature spoke in a deep, thunderous voice. "You have stolen what belongs to the first Guardian. Gold can be replaced. Honor cannot. Every generation of your bloodline will repay this debt until the treasure is returned." Ibrahim awoke screaming, only to find fresh claw marks carved across his bedroom walls. No human hand could have made them. The air smelled of burning sulfur, and distant whispers echoed through every room, repeating the same chilling words again and again. The following morning, Ibrahim tried to bury the treasure deep beneath the desert, believing distance would end the nightmare. But when he returned home, the ancient chest was already waiting inside his bedroom, untouched and covered with fresh desert sand. Beside it lay a scorched parchment written in glowing Arabic symbols. As the words slowly transformed into his own language, Ibrahim's heart froze. It read, "You cannot hide what was never yours. We know your children, and we will be waiting for theirs." Outside, dark clouds gathered over the village for the first time in decades, while unseen laughter drifted through the wind, signaling that the jinn had begun its revenge. 70 years passed, and Ibrahim Rahman's terrifying secret was buried with him. The treasure chest disappeared. The old stories faded into whispers, and the younger generations dismissed the tale as nothing more than a village legend. His grandson, Ayaan Rahman, had built a peaceful life with his wife and young daughter in the same ancestral house. He had never believed in jinn or curses. But on the night of his daughter's 10th birthday, the electricity suddenly failed. An unnatural silence settled over the house. Even the crickets stopped singing. Then came 3 slow knocks on the front door. Ayaan opened it to find no one outside. Instead, an ancient brass key rested on the doorstep, covered in fresh desert sand despite the nearest dunes being miles away. Curious, he picked it up. The moment his fingers touched the cold metal, every light in the house flickered back to life. Upstairs, his daughter screamed. The family rushed to her room and found the walls covered with glowing Arabic symbols that none of them had written. In the center of the room stood the same weathered treasure chest that Ibrahim had once stolen. As terror spread through the house, the old wooden chest slowly creaked open by itself. No one dared move. Thick black smoke poured into the room, carrying the smell of burning earth and ancient incense. A whisper drifted through the darkness, calling each family member by name. Ayaan's elderly mother collapsed in horror as she recognized the chest from the stories her grandfather had forbidden anyone to repeat. Trembling, she whispered, "The Guardian has finally come for us." At that exact moment, Every family photograph hanging on the walls shattered, leaving only one untouched, the faded portrait of Ibrahim Rahman, whose eyes now appeared to glow with an unnatural green light. Ayaan refused to believe that a centuries-old curse could be haunting his family. Determined to prove there was a logical explanation, he locked the ancient chest inside the basement and sealed the heavy steel door with chains. Before sunrise, he installed security cameras throughout the house, convinced they would expose whoever was behind the terrifying events. The following morning, the family gathered around the monitor to review the recordings. For hours, everything appeared normal. Then, at exactly 3:13 a.m., every screen filled with black static. When the image returned, the cameras showed a towering figure made entirely of swirling smoke standing in the hallway. Its glowing emerald eyes stared directly into the camera. Without taking a single step, the shadow drifted through the walls and stopped outside the basement door. The chains snapped one by one without being touched. The steel door slowly swung open, and the ancient chest slid out on its own. As the figure turned toward the camera, it whispered in a voice that sounded like hundreds of people speaking together. "The debt of blood has only begun." The cameras suddenly shut off. A deafening silence filled the house before every window shattered at once. Freezing wind rushed through the rooms, carrying clouds of desert sand that should not have existed there. Ayaan's daughter pointed toward the staircase with trembling hands. Standing at the top was the shadowy guardian, taller than any man, its body wrapped in black smoke and drifting embers. Around its neck hung the same golden amulet stolen by Ibrahim decades earlier. It slowly raised one clawed hand and pointed directly at the frightened child. Then it spoke a sentence that froze the family's blood. "Before the next full moon, one soul will be taken, unless the stolen treasure is returned to its rightful resting place." With the Guardian's warning echoing through their minds, the Rahman family knew they had only one chance to survive. Ayaan's elderly mother finally revealed the last secret Ibrahim had taken to his grave. Before dying, he had confessed that he never sold the stolen treasure. Instead, he hid it beneath the ruins of an abandoned mosque buried deep within the Black Dune Desert, hoping the Jinn would never find it. Carrying only lanterns, water, and the ancient brass key, Ayaan, his wife, and his younger brother set out before dawn. As they crossed the endless dunes, the air grew unnaturally cold despite the blazing sun. Strange footprints appeared beside them in the sand, but they belonged to no human or animal. Every few minutes, the wind carried distant whispers calling Ayaan by name. When they finally reached the ruined mosque, they discovered that its cracked stone floor was covered in glowing Arabic symbols identical to those that had appeared inside their home. In the center stood an ancient stone door with no handle, only a keyhole perfectly matching the brass key left by the unseen visitor. Ayaan inserted the ancient key with trembling hands. The moment it turned, the ground shook violently. The heavy stone door slowly opened, revealing a staircase descending into darkness older than memory itself. A freezing wind rushed upward carrying the smell of dust, fire, and something long imprisoned. As the family descended, hundreds of ancient oil lamps suddenly ignited on their own, revealing walls carved with terrifying images of towering jinn punishing thieves who dared steal sacred relics. At the end of the passage rested the weathered treasure chest, untouched after 70 years. But it was no longer alone. Behind it stood three silent shadow figures with glowing green eyes, waiting as though they had expected the family to return. The three shadow guardians remained perfectly still as Ayaan stepped toward the ancient chest. Their glowing eyes followed his every movement, but none tried to stop him. The silence was more terrifying than any scream. With trembling hands, he lifted the heavy lid. Inside lay mountains of glittering gold coins, jeweled daggers, emerald necklaces, and the magnificent golden amulet once worn by the guardian of the Jinn. The treasure radiated an unnatural green glow that filled the chamber. Suddenly, Ayaan heard a familiar voice behind him. It was his late grandfather Ibrahim, softly whispering, "Take one coin, and all your suffering will end." For a brief moment, Ayaan believed the voice was real. His hand reached toward a single gold coin, but his wife grabbed his arm just in time. The old carvings on the walls suddenly came alive, showing horrifying visions of every thief who had stolen from the Jinn. One by one, they transformed into lifeless statues of black stone, their faces forever frozen in expressions of unbearable terror. Realizing the Jinn were testing his greed, Ayaan stepped away from the treasure and closed the chest without taking anything. The chamber instantly erupted with deafening roars. The three shadow guardians dissolved into swirling black smoke that circled the family at incredible speed. The ancient stone walls cracked open, releasing rivers of glowing sand that poured across the floor like water. From the darkness ahead emerged the towering guardian itself, larger than ever before. Its emerald eyes burned with ancient fury, and the golden amulet floated from the chest into its clawed hand. The guardian raised its head and declared, "You have resisted the first temptation, but redemption demands more than honesty. The blood debt remains unpaid." The chamber shook violently as the path behind the family collapsed, trapping them deep beneath the desert with the enraged Jinn. The collapsing chamber sealed every escape. Massive stone pillars crashed to the ground as glowing sand swirled around the Rahman family like a living storm. The guardian raised one enormous hand, and the roaring silence became unbearable. Then, with a voice that echoed through the ancient temple, it revealed the truth hidden for generations. Ibrahim had not only stolen the treasure, he had murdered the human guardian who had sworn to protect the sacred vault alongside the Jinn. The stolen gold had never been the greatest crime. It was the innocent blood spilled for greed that awakened the eternal curse. Every generation of the Rahman family had unknowingly carried a fragment of that blood debt within their souls. The guardian's emerald eyes settled upon Ayaan's frightened daughter, who had secretly followed the family into the underground chamber. The Jinn declared that before the next sunrise, the bloodline must choose between eternal extinction or a sacrifice freely offered to restore the ancient balance. The chamber trembled as ghostly figures of Ibrahim's forgotten victims slowly emerged from the walls, surrounding the family in complete silence. Ayaan refused to surrender his daughter. Standing between her and the guardian, he admitted the sins of his grandfather and begged for another path. The guardian remained motionless before extending its clawed hand. A glowing scroll of fire appeared in the air, covered with ancient Arabic symbols that slowly transformed into words the family could understand. It declared that the curse could be broken only if the stolen treasure was returned willingly and a living descendant accepted the burden of guarding the sacred vault forever. No death was required, but the chosen guardian could never return to the human world. As the family stared at the blazing covenant, Ayaan quietly stepped forward. Without hesitation, he placed his hand upon the burning scroll and whispered, "Let my life repay what my grandfather stole." The moment Ayaan accepted the covenant, the burning scroll dissolved into thousands of glowing embers that circled his body. A blinding emerald light filled the chamber, and the ancient treasure chest slowly floated toward the guardian. Every gold coin, jewel, and sacred relic rose into the air, as if pulled by an invisible force, returning to their rightful keeper. The angry roar of the temple faded into a deep, solemn silence. For the first time since the curse had begun, the guardian lowered its head in respect. Yet the price remained. A circle of brilliant green fire appeared beneath Ayaan's feet, separating him from his terrified family. His wife cried out and tried to reach him, but an unseen force held her back. Their daughter ran toward her father with tears streaming down her face, but the glowing barrier would not let her pass. Ayaan smiled gently despite the fear in his eyes and whispered, "This ends with me. No child of our family will ever carry this curse again." The guardian slowly opened a massive stone gateway behind the altar, revealing a hidden realm filled with endless stars, floating ruins, and rivers of shimmering emerald light. Ayaan took one final step toward the glowing gateway. As he crossed its threshold, the chamber shook one last time before becoming perfectly still. The guardian raised the restored golden amulet high into the air, and the ghostly spirits of the innocent victims finally smiled before dissolving into beams of warm white light. Above the desert, the violent storm vanished, and the black clouds that had haunted the Rahman family for generations disappeared forever. But just as the stone gateway began to close, Ayaan heard one final whisper from the darkness beyond. The first guardian has been restored, but an older evil has awakened. The guardian's emerald eyes suddenly narrowed toward the endless darkness behind the sacred realm, where two enormous crimson eyes slowly opened, watching from the shadows as the gateway slammed shut. Months passed after the Rahman family returned from the Black Dune Desert. The curse had vanished. The cracked mirrors repaired themselves, the whispers disappeared, and for the first time in generations, peace settled over their home. Yet every sunset, Ayaan's daughter, Maryam, dreamed of her father standing beside an endless river of emerald light, silently watching over an ancient gate beneath a sky without stars. In every dream he smiled but never spoke. One evening, while the family prayed together, a powerful wind extinguished every candle. A single beam of emerald light appeared in the center of the room, revealing the guardian once more. This time, its terrifying appearance carried no anger. It bowed its head before Maryam and spoke gently. "Your father has fulfilled the covenant. He now guards the sacred vault beside us. His sacrifice restored the balance between our worlds." As the guardian finished speaking, the golden amulet appeared in Maryam's hands. It no longer radiated fear but warmth, glowing softly like the first light of dawn. The guardian warned that the amulet must never again be used for greed, or the ancient darkness imprisoned beyond the gate would awaken once more. Before disappearing, the guardian looked toward the night sky with unusual concern. For the first time, fear could be seen in its glowing emerald eyes. It whispered that the crimson-eyed creature beyond the sacred vault had begun to stir, sensing that the ancient prison had weakened. Although the Rahman family's debt had been paid, the battle between light and darkness was far from over. A beam of emerald light carried the guardian away, leaving only the glowing amulet behind. As silence returned, Maryam noticed a tiny crack spreading across the amulet's surface. Deep within that crack, a faint crimson glow pulsed once, then vanished, as if something imprisoned inside had just awakened from an endless sleep. 1 year later, the Rahman family returned to the Black Dune Desert to honor Ayaan's sacrifice. At sunrise, Maryam placed the glowing golden amulet upon the ancient stone altar inside the hidden temple. The emerald crack slowly healed, and the amulet released a brilliant light that illuminated every corner of the sacred vault. The guardian emerged one final time, no longer surrounded by black smoke, but by radiant emerald flames. Behind him stood Ayaan, dressed in the robes of the first guardian, smiling peacefully at his family. Though no words were spoken, they understood that he had found eternal purpose protecting the boundary between the human world and the realm of the Jinn. As the family turned to leave, the guardian raised his hand in blessing, and the entrance to the hidden temple disappeared beneath the desert forever. The stolen treasure was gone, the blood debt was repaid, and the Rahman name was finally freed from the curse that had haunted it for generations. As the family walked away across the endless dunes, the wind carried Ayaan's voice one last time. "Greed steals more than gold, it steals peace. Honor what is sacred, and darkness will never find your door." The desert fell silent. The crimson eyes beyond the sacred vault faded into nothingness, their ancient prison strengthened by Ayaan's sacrifice. Far above, the first rays of morning broke through the clouds, bathing the dunes in golden light. The Rahman family never spoke publicly about the events they had witnessed, but they passed one lesson to every generation. Never take what belongs to another, especially when it belongs to the unseen. And so the legend of the stolen Jinn's treasure became a warning whispered across the desert, reminding all who heard it that some riches are protected not by locks or soldiers, but by ancient guardians whose patience lasts centuries, and whose justice never fails.